Collaborative working, again, very important. You are not, as I say, no man is an island. You're not working in silo. You're actually working with the teams, not just in one place. I've been working in the projects in the last almost 10, 12 years. All the projects that I've been working on in the last year or so, in the last 12 years, I have not worked with teams in one place. All of them were like teams in UK, EU, America, some in India, some in Portugal, some in China, some in Switzerland. This is one project I'm talking about. Every project will have some front-end teams located here, back-end team located somewhere else, and the middleware some other place, the business in some other place, the sales team is some other place, the stakeholders some other. You are actually having distributed teams, a geographically distributed teams. That's the norm of the day nowadays. You cannot afford to say that, you know what, I'm more comfortable talking and working with people next to me. Sorry, you can't afford to have that luxury. You can't just say that I'm more comfortable working with, sorry, I want to have a quick gulp. Feeling a bit dry off late, even it happened yesterday as well. I don't know why. So you cannot afford to say that I'm more comfortable working with people next to me, sitting next to me, or face to face. You know what? Sorry, you've got teams located everywhere. You should be able to converse and able to actually engage with them, and then be able to work alongside with the teams located and dispersed geographically. That's the norm. So again, collaboration. That's why you use a lot of collaborative tools, right? That's why you're using all these online conferencing tools. Collaborative coding tools like GitHub, use Jira, Trello, TFS, Microsoft Team Foundation Server. All these, there are so many tools out there which are actually helping you manage your work in a collaborative way. Jive, for example, very collaborative software development tool. So you should work with multidisciplinary teams. You can't just say, I like only development, I'll only work with developers. Sorry, you've got to work with architects, you've got to work with testers. The person who is going to look at your build and actually kind of ripping it apart is a tester who actually finds faults with your code. That's okay. It's actually for the benefit of the product. It's not personal. Don't take it personal that the tester has identified 1,000 defects with your build. Fair enough. And you try and work with the testers to make sure that those defects, whether they're cosmetic or showstoppers, whatever it is, you try and kind of fix those defects. Don't be personal. So you should be able to work with multidisciplinary, different types of skills, different types of skill levels, and different roles as well. And again, the point I was trying to make with the distributed teams, you cannot afford to actually say that I would like to work with people who I can see and go for lunch. Sorry, you need to work with people who are spread everywhere. Sustainable development, again, very important. It should be well planned. It should be well paced. We were talking about pacing. Again, plan iteration and major, minor releases. We're talking about the tick-tock of Apple, that kind of tick and a talk, which is big and the small one. Big bang and the small thing. Big, huge product development, huge product version, vis-a-vis small little updates, changes to the security and things like that. Again, we need to have that kind of clear planning in place. Schedule and package the features, very important. Again, you can have a better idea how you can create all these features as one bunch of one release, within one release, or paced across multiple releases. It's up to the product manager or the product management team to be able to create this kind of roadmap as to what should be the release strategy, what should be the features that should be packed into the releases and things. Again, retrospect and adapt, very important. We had a discussion around this. Planned, executed, reviewed. We need to plan our work properly. We need to execute the work, implement the work, and then we need to actually review the work, how it has been done. So all of that, not in a year, 2 years, or 3 years time period, like in waterfall, but they should be done within the iteration. They should be done, for example, the iteration is 3 weeks. The sprint is 3 weeks. You start before 3 weeks, you have the sprint planning done. You know what is to be done in this week. So that's what is discussed in the sprint planning. If you've got any problems, sort them out, and then you actually execute. That's called sprint execution for 3 weeks, where the work is done, the development, the testing, and the analysis and everything else is done there. and then you deploy it or you make it ready. And then after that 3 weeks sprint is done, execution is done, you spend 2 hours to 3 hours to go through that stuff. That's what we do in sprint review and sprint retrospective sessions. We actually look back and see how we did it, what what was the outcome of this particular 3 weeks, how did it shape up, what are the things that went well, what did not go well, how can we improve, and all this stuff. So we hold regular reviews and retrospective sessions. Yeah, this is what we will do, and maybe we can actually spend some time in detail the next week about the Scrum as a methodology. We can go through each of these in detail. And then inspect, adapt, and improve continuously. Again, continuous delivery. And the self-organizing teams, nobody's helping the teams nobody's managing the team. The team is managing themselves, right? So that self-reliant, they've got that skills, they've got the authority, they've got the responsibility to manage their own work, they plan the work, they estimate the work, they commit the estimates, they deliver the work, and then they own the entire cycle of this. So the management commitment is there. They're supporting the management. What is the management doing? They're supporting this team. They're trying to give all the resources that they need. And then once that is there in place, then the team would do everything. The lightweight structures and fewer levels and roles. They're not much, as I said, the Scrum has got just 3 roles. They're not like 100 roles like in typical waterfall. You don't have tester, you don't have architect, business analyst, don't like that. It's just one role, developer. It's all development team. One role called development team, that's it. Whether you're a SME, whether you're an analyst, designer, visual designer, it doesn't matter. Everybody is part of a team. So that's the beauty of that. So you're trying to cut down the levels of hierarchy, cut down the bureaucracy, basically, and making it efficient that way. So focus and prioritization. It's all about focus. You can actually, doing all these things would actually help you to be more focused and help prioritize your work and your people and your processes better. So you deliver on you focus on the delivery. You deliver something and then you focus on the next delivery. And that's important. So you try and prioritize. And this is what we discussed at length for 2 days, yesterday and the day before, about prioritization done on the importance versus urgency, need to have, nice to have, the Moscow tool. So we did go through all of that in detail. Very, very important again. Quick delivery of business value is key. You cannot deliver something after 2 years. You need to deliver something quickly. It should make some sense and some value to the customers. It should be important for them so that they can use it to their advantage. Again, refactoring, technical design excellency, architecture, refactoring, we discussed this. You can't have a code that is spaghetti, that has got a lot of problems, that has got crisscrossing calls and crisscrossing methods, poor documentation. You don't know how the method has been named. For example, the way you call a method as a get something would be written as get something here, and then you say something get in the next piece of block of code. So there's a problem with the naming of the methods, naming of the code blocks. So you need to have a consistent way of doing that. So all of that, again, how you use the for loops, how you use the while loops and the while do loops and all these things, depending on the language. So it's important that because it's being coded by different people, they come with different backgrounds and different mindsets. You should not have that kind of spaghetti, as what we call, crisscrossing everywhere. So we should try and spend some time to refactor. That's called refactoring, to adjust this and make sure it is all aligned to the standards. And then that's why we need to have the architectural spike, is what we call spike. So spike is like a sprint. Again, we'll discuss this in detail. Spike is like a sprint which is time boxed, like 3 weeks or whatever. And then we actually do the work of looking at the architecture, looking at the design, the code, but then we don't really deliver at the end of a spike. There's no expected outcome in terms of a product at the end of the spike. It's basically to improve the quality of the code and quality of the architecture, the design, and the product, basically. And then finally, we've got the engage and communicate. We continuously engage the stakeholders. Stakeholders include external, internal. We have constant communication with the team. We make sure we work with them, multiple channels, platforms, and devices. That's the whole thing, isn't it? We discussed this. Online, we have had that option. Yesterday, we were talking about the platforms, the channels, the devices, the screen sizes, the resolutions, the browsers, the versions. plethora of options there. So we need to make sure we prioritize them and make sure we use them wisely. And then we need to track the progress. That's very, very important. We need to track how we're doing, how we're going. Are we going in the right direction? Are we going with the right speed, the right way? So that's the reason why we do the assessment of this, the reviews, retrospectives, and these constant feedback coming in from outside all help us evaluate this and then make sure we've got the right mindset to accept the change and adapt ourselves in the product in a better way. And then the actions need to be done really quickly. Again, because of the fact that you're engaging them in a weekly, almost like weeks, 3 weeks, every 3 weeks, it's easy for us to take actions quickly because all of this is small little things. It's not really big, huge rework. So you're trying to take steps and the control actions really quickly.